Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Seun Ajala. In this particular tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you on how to draft a waistcoat. If it's something you will like, open and let's start. So the first thing I did was to mark out my button line, which is 2 inches, and I marked out a straight line. So what am I doing here? I'm just trying to mark out my neck line. I came in by 3 inches for the width, and for the length, I came in by 3 inches, and I'm going to make a curve. So now I have gotten my button line and my neck. So the next thing I want to do is to get my bust measurement, which is 10 inches. So I came down by 10 inches and I'm going to mark out a straight line. So the next thing I want to do is to get my waist measurement, which is 17 inches, and I'm going to mark out a straight line also. So the next thing I want to do is to mark out the length of my waistcoat. So I'm just going to draw that out. And the next thing I want to do is to get my shoulder measurement. So I'm just going to come around the neck part and mark out my shoulder measurement, which is 7 inches. So the next thing I want to do is to get my shoulder slope. I'm going to come down by 1 inches from my actual shoulder measurement, and I'm going to connect it to the neck part. I'm going to slant it to the neck part. So that is going to serve as our shoulder slope. Then the next thing I want to do is to come up by 2 inches from my breast line, and it's going to serve as my chest line. And I'm going to mark out a straight line there. So the next thing I want to do is from my shoulder slope, I'm going to mark down a straight line to the chest line. So I'm just going to mark out a straight line from my shoulder slope down to my chest line. Then the next thing I want to do is to measure from my shoulder slope down to my chest line. Whatever I have, I'm going to divide it into 2 and mark it at the middle part. So the next thing I did was to come in by 1/2 inch from my from the middle part. And the next thing I want to do is just to put in my bust measurements, my actual bust measurement. And I'm just going to use my curve rule to connect it. So from my shoulder slope to the middle point down to the chest line, I'm going to mark out my armhole there. So if you don't understand that part, you can just comment so I can explain well. So I'm just going to mark out my armhole using my curve rule, and that is that for the armhole of our waistcoat. So for my waistcoat, there's going to be a dart. So I'm just going to come in by 4 inches to get my darts. So if you don't know how to get your darts, your nipple to nipple, you divide what you have there, and that is your dart. So now I'm just going to come in by 4 inches from the bust line down to the length. So I'm just going to mark out a straight line there. So now I've gotten my dart. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to go to the waist part, and I'm going to come in by 1/2 inch from the middle, from that straight line. And the next thing I want to do is to use my ruler to just connect it to make our dart. You can see the way I'm just connecting it. And I'm going to connect it down to the length. For the dart, I came up by 1 inches from the length. So you can see we've gotten our dart now. So now I'm just going to label it CL, bust line, waistline, and the length. So after putting in my body measurements and putting in my dart measurement, I'm just going to come up by 1 inches from my breast line to get my v-neck. So I'm just going to slant the curve rule to the button line to make my v-neck. You can see I just slanted it to make my v-neck. You can make yours shorter, but I just prefer it being around the breast line. So you can see how I just slanted it to get my v-neck. You can see that point. So you can see that point that I make there to get my v-neck. So from that point, I'm just going to mark out a straight line around the button part. You can see, you can make yours longer, you can make your own v-neck shorter, longer, anyhow you want it to be, but you're just going to make a slant around the neck parts. So now I'll just make a straight line from the bottom part. After getting my v-neck, I'm going to come and work on the bottom part to get that pointy design around the waistcoat. So from the bottom part, I just came in by 3 inches, and from that 3 inches I came down by 2 inches. That's how we are going to make our pointy design. So the next thing I want to do is from that 2 inches that I marked down from the length, I'm just going to use my curve rule to just make out that pointy design. So now I'm just going to use my curve rule to just slant it and make that pointy design perfect, okay, and coming out well. The next thing I want to do is to come in by 3.5 inches from my shoulder part, because it is a waistcoat and I don't want the shoulder to be that broad. So after coming in by 3.5 inches, I'm just going to use my curve rule to connect it with the armhole. I'm just going to connect it into the armhole so you can see. And that is all for the front. We are going to head to the back now. So we are going to the back now. So for the back pattern, I just brought in my material directly instead of using my pattern paper. So the difference between the back is just the neck part and the pointy design. That is all. Okay guys, so I just came down by 1 inches for the back length. So for the length of my back neck is going to be 1 inches, and I just make a curve. So I just make a curve, and I'm just going to make sure the chalk is connected to the shoulder part. So that is all for the back neck. So I'm just going to use my scissors to just cut out the back neck. So that is some of the difference between the front. You know, the front is just slanted, but the back, it is not slanted at the back. So the next thing I want to do is to do the bottom parts of this particular back pattern. So I'm just going to mark out a straight cut. So the back does not have a pointy design and the neck is different. That's just the difference between the front and the back. So guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Bye guys.